This is the Simply Home podcast, Ladies Who Build, a podcast for women by women. This is Ashley Wainscott
and Michelle Mullins. After spending the last 10 years revolutionizing the construction industry and raising the bar of the contracting world, we are inviting you on our journey as we continuously learn how to be extraordinary and thrive in this industry. Now come hang with us.
Welcome to episode 16 of Ladies Who Build. We have a special guest today for the episode titled, It's All in the Details. Ashley, Luera, is joining us from the Simply Home team, and we are getting into the nitty-gritty of all of the details. And as you guys can imagine, there are so many elements and pieces that have to be tied together with a little bow before we hand it off to construction. Mm-hmm. And Ashley will describe it in a little bit to you all, everything that she does. We want to say she's like the concierge of it all. But things we'll be talking about today, points we'll be touching on, we'll be talking about how we prep before it hands over to construction. We'll be talking about scopes and what it means to be the liaison between all parties involved in the construction process. We'll be talking about how materials work and coincide with plans and the construction / contractor's role in checking the feasibility of materials. And we'll also be talking about the process for how clients purchase these items for their homes and what's ever evolving and changing in the material world and how we direct and guide clients to ensuring their choices will lead to a smooth process. Okay. Without further ado.
Yeah, you said it in a nutshell. There was a lot there. I'm excited to dive in. Okay, so Ashley, we're so excited to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
I'm very excited.
Yay. Also hilarious because when you joined, it was now two Ashleys. And so we never knew. I remember when you were first coming onto the team, we're like, how do we address the two Ashleys?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's fine now. But why don't you start out and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you kind of did leading up to your role in Simply Home.
Yes. So I am originally from San Marcos, Texas. I went to Texas State and graduated with an interior design degree. That was the only degree or the only major I chose. That was as soon as I found that there was design, something you can study, I was like, that's it. I'm going to do it. So studied that, graduated with a bachelor's in design and a minor in business, what is it called? Admin. Mm-hmm. And so my first job out of college, my big girl job, was in Austin at this design center / flooring install company called Affinity Design. And I was there for 4 years, and I was in the new build side of construction. So that was something I was I knew I wanted residential. I didn't want to go into commercial. But I liked it. New build was something that was interesting to me. We got to build a showroom and that would manage builders and build programs and for them. And so after that, COVID came and I was like, what should I do? Should I stay with new construction? Should I get into maybe a design aspect with finishes, or should I just do something else? So I took a kind of a 9-month hiatus of okay, let me get my life together. Let's see what direction I want to take. And Simply Home was opportunity. And I think it was late in the year. It was November 2021. And that was how we met each other and got into each other's lives.
It was and then we started dating.
Yeah,
we were knocking at your door.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Yes. And but your background again is also in design, and I loved that you had a well-rounded experience working with new builds, but then also studying design. That's not something that I can bring to the table. And so I was very excited for the opportunity and knowledge and information that you were going to bring for our clients and really for me as well.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and I think before we dive into, your role at Simply Home is so crucial. And so I guess if you want to talk a little bit about your role specifically and what you do, I think that will help people listening to understand not only what you do, but like the importance of what you do.
Yes. So when I joined, I was like, what do I do? I was like, I'll figure it out. It's fine. So there was a portion we're in this planning phase essentially, and we have the client and the scope. And so there's a bunch of materials involved where we have to kind of tell them like, this is what you need to buy. Like, these are the details. These are some like technical pieces. And so there's this material sheet that we've created where it lists out basically like a shopping list for what clients can buy and the details associated to that. So that was part of my management, was working with the client, telling them, okay, what do you like? What's your style? What's your taste? Maybe shop at Party Barn, or maybe let's go to Floor and Decor, or just directing them of like where to go to navigate like their choices. Because we weren't a designer, and that was the first thing that Ashley was saying is like, we're not designers, we're facilitators. So I had that in my mind, but I was just telling him like, this is where you can go to shop, not so much like, oh, what do you like? What's your taste? Like, what's your style? So with the materials list, I was helping them fill it out, and I would review everything and make sure everything made sense and that was like feasible. And I would also be in charge. This is going to be like a long list because there was a lot that I did.
There really was. When you're looking back on this, you're like, wow.
I need to like take breath.
Paragraph.
Let me read my whole job description. Ready?
Yeah, you said 30 minutes. Okay, well, to chop it in half or a quarter. I would help manage their materials. I would work with vendors and our trades to get costs associated to their selections and to the scope. And so I would compile all that information and have the cost, but then as well help them have deadlines of when to select these materials. And so that was always a challenge, because some clients who didn't have a designer would have like, you would have to kind of like walk with them a little bit and like tell them like, okay, hey, let's maybe focus on like tile, or let's focus on plumbing. And so I'm trying to navigate the deadlines of them, and then trying to navigate deadlines with trades and suppliers and getting information back with them. So that was pretty much all on my plate before it got into the construction team. So in my head, when I started, I envisioned that I would put everything on this platter with a nice bow. And that's how I was telling the PM team, like, this is what I see my role. I don't know fully like exactly what I'm doing, but it sounds like I need to have everything wrapped up before y'all get handed this project. And they're like, that sounds great, let's do it. So I was trying to meet that the whole time.
You're like, no big deal, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, no big deal. And so just client communication you had to keep up with, texting and calling your vendors and trades, meeting your own deadlines, meeting client deadlines, maybe working with permits was another thing I had to that was on my plate, and just like coordinating. And that was my role. My role name was sales coordinator when I started. And coordination is definitely like the full core of like what I do.
Yeah.
So
I will say, not everybody can do this role. It is a lot, and you, like you said, you have to juggle and maintain a lot of different people's schedules, and you kind of have to be the ringleader to say like, hey, where are we on this? Like, you're coming up to your deadline. If we don't have this, we have to push your start date back. Like, it truly is an all-encompassing role, and you have, just to like toot your own horn, you've really defined that process so well for our team, and now it's like so lucrative to have this role filled and done well, because now we can see how good a project can be when it's set up really properly. So you rock it.
Thank you.
And it's not easy. So
it was fun.
It's fun.
It was. Yeah, it is fun. Yeah.
To a point.
Now that I know that I'm like, this was a lot for one person, so I was like, let's divide it. Yeah. So that was nice. I still love it.
And now we have a new person on the team helping man the ship. And Ash, tell us about one thing you were talking about that it just resonated with me so much, because there's like a magic to managing client deadlines with materials, and it's a somewhat customized process in that it kind of depends on the clients and their, what am I trying to say? Like wherewithal of how much they can handle at one time based on how you break it up and have these conversations. And also how you give them deadlines
Mhm.
for things.
Yeah, it's with materials, like clients are driven by different parts of everything in their scope. So clients can be driven by tile selections and like custom, like having that custom made, or they're driven by the color, or maybe they're driven by the budget. So it was about like trying to navigate on like, where should we start? What makes you most excited? And then going from there to give them those breakout deadlines. And it was definitely clients have told us time and time again, give me deadlines. I need them. So like anytime we'd set those and they would follow, but and things kind of get lost as, we progress, because this is about like 2 months of like planning and making selections and like building your project. So we would have, check-ins with them just to be like, okay, how far are you with this? Okay, let's focus on this next part. So yes, it was definitely, deadlines are very, like, they're constantly changing, but they definitely need to be set.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, with anybody, but yeah, especially with clients, because we have such a set process of when we can start projects, and we want them to start. We want to get projects going, but you have to have all your material in. So I think, that's a huge part of it for sure.
And I think what sells us apart from other GCs is that we ask for, and I'll finish my sentence. This is what we ask for, is to have all materials selected and ordered by the time we start. And I think that's the wall we're trying to break with GCs, because we've had instances with like clients are like, oh, it's just bath hardware. Like we can order that later. But we like to talk about this from the beginning of like, we're different from other GCs. We want to have all this ready, because this is how we can control like any hiccups or any like what's the word,
delays
too.
Mm-hmm.
So like we can't predict like what's going to be behind your walls, but we can definitely control and manage what these materials. And so that is something that I really like to harp on, and like we say this from the beginning with clients, so it like starts to resonate more with them. But it's in the end, they don't, in the beginning, I feel like it's like, why? Like they're a little bit questionable, but then in the end, or when they're prepping over to the construction phase, they're like, oh, I see why. So it's always that like click. So it's nice that we have that as our standard. And I think it works a lot.
Would you say clients typically follow or like start to get the hang of this earlier on? And would you say that those little deadlines can add up really quickly if the client's not meeting them, because then they delay the project and you have other issues?
Yes, there's just so much communication we have with clients, because we're very like, we're their partners, so we are letting them know, but they're like, no, let me just burn my hand, like, on the stove when you tell them not to, or so it's like, it's just, we communicate with them, and we say like, if we can't have this ordered and ready in time, then this can potentially delay your start date. And so if that's what they're motivated by, then that helps. But if they're motivated by their materials, like custom orders, and it's like, okay, then they want to make sure they have their custom order, their custom item like finalized and completed before, and that will dictate the start date.
I think you make a really good point for clients who come in. If you're looking to start a remodel project, what makes your job easier is a client coming in knowing what they want. And you can still, like, you're still making decisions with your designer, you're still going through that process, but understanding what you just said, is timeline the most important for you? Do you have a hard deadline that you have to start and end by? Or have you dreamt about this tile that's coming from Italy and it's going to take like 15 weeks to get in, right? So if that's the case, that's okay. But like kind of know where the client like is prioritizing, because then that can help us set up the client for success too, to say, okay, if timeline is super important for you, then maybe we don't consider that tile from Italy. Let's look at something that's more in stock. So you can really help direct them in that way.
Yes, and that's something that the salesperson preps for us for the team, and we ask what their motive is. So we have a selection of like budget, timeline, material, or process. So sometimes clients sign with us because they like our process, they like our details, they like they like our presentation. So we use those to help kind of frame out how we're going to approach the client.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's a really vital, small detail that we need to know.
What I did there?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of little details. So yeah, that's a really important question to help us like know what to expect.
Yeah.
And how do you think, so, okay, looking at the material sheet and you're a new client, you know, how would you best say to navigate what's coming at them and how you're guiding them?
Well, I've done it different ways. Everyone reacts to different methods, but I'll usually say like what's first important is like any plumbing. And if that's like something that they're fine choosing first, if they're not really material focused, plumbing and tile, I guess, would be the first. So I would highlight those sections because this materials list is something that the clients fill in, and I help with like just making sure that the details are filled in of like their links of where they're buying this product. And I will provide like how many parts or how many, the quantity of that material. So that's just where I'll highlight, we'll talk about it in a meeting, but then I'll highlight the materials list of like, okay, this is first party, first round of orders and first round of selections. And then you can do like a second half. So
yeah, that is a strategy that Ashley's brought to the table that I think has been really helpful for clients instead of being so overloaded by everything that needs to be ordered. It's like, let's do this in little bites and little segments.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what it was like before we had your role, because I'm sure that was super overwhelming to see there are so many materials that go into a project, and you really hold their hand to say, here's what's priority, here's what I can help you with. And it's such a vital part of the process that it's nice when someone can hold your hand through it. So I think you do that really well.
Thank you.
I know there's a lot of ways that we are visually describing your role, but I was trying to think back to previously when I would describe it as the bus driver.
Yeah.
And the salesperson is more of the tour guide, and they're like, look over here and look at this and ha 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 with the microphone, right? And they're like doing all that. But meanwhile, Ashley is like, driving that bus to the starting line.
Yeah. Yeah. I always clung to that too when I started, but then I'm like, I'm the wheels. I'm not even the bus. I'm the wheels because I'm what keeps the project moving.
Yeah.
Like there's people in there in the bus, but it was just like, I was more of the action person. So I was just like, okay, let's get things going. Like I need this from you. I need that from you. Like I need to tie this all together. So it was just like, it just felt like it was just always in motion.
There's so many elements that clients don't realize there's a lot of back and forth. And that's the whole point of a concierge company, is that you're not seeing all of that, but it's happening.
Yeah, it's happening very much.
Yeah, it is. You really are ringleader to the designer, to the client, to the vendor, to the material. I mean, it's you're really dictating this project for sure. Yeah,
and it's absolutely necessary to have this role or this focus because of how we've set ourselves apart. I really think like this is a customized position. Like I don't know other GCs, but from what I've gotten from like just my coworkers or you guys, like it's a customized role.
Yeah.
For our process. And so it's just important, and it really does help us prep for everything else.
I'm laughing because you're right. Like we try to imagine what are other roles like this on the market. I'm like, well, we just customize ours so much that it's just very specific to Simply Home, which I really like, because we're not a normal GC company. We're very different, but it is hilarious because we're just like, we're going to make it this role and we're going to create that. And it's fun. Okay. What do you think with all of the material that you see clients bringing in, on a daily basis, or with every new project is a different material? What do you think is something new you're seeing come across in the material world in regards to like construction and what we're installing?
Well, there was a first thing that kind of came up with like a grout, like a tile, what does it call it? When instead of a tile trim,
Shooter?
Yeah, they wanted it painted. Like they didn't want the designer didn't want a tile trim or a tile schluter, like a metal piece or a matching tile piece on the side. They just wanted to be like cleanly painted. So that was something new. Like I think schluter and tile trim both go in different directions style wise, but like cleanest or simplest, where it's not associated to anything. There's no identity. It's just like painting the edge.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
If preferences change.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, for those who don't know, schluter is metal edging that basically covers the edge of your tile in a shower, mostly a shower. It could also be a backsplash, so you don't see the rough part of the tile. What would be a material that most people don't think about but is super necessary to order? For example, schluter might be one we just talked about with edging. Is there anything else that's like smaller or even bigger that people don't think about, but it's like super necessary?
Grout is like so common. And it's funny because like we take them to tile, or not, we don't take them, but we let them go to like tile places to shop and like make their selections, but then grout is not picked with the tile. And when in my previous job, we're a design center, so they had to pick out their bathroom and their backsplash, and like we had like the tiles laid out on the table. And then we would like, okay, at the end, let's pick your grout, or maybe let's make a second design appointment, because grout can be like you're in a decision fatigue with all these selections for your home. So in either the first or second design appointment, we would pick grout and we would butt it up a grout stick to your tile, and we would pick and be like, if you go more white to a gray, then you're going to see more of a contrast. But if you go more gray to your gray, then it blends in. So what do you like? What do you want? And that's like something I'm like, what? Like, why is that missed?
Like, how is it that a tile store doesn't put grout next to the tile? They go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a little astounding.
Yeah. And so now we have a grout pack on site. So when we go to the client's house, we just have them pick the grout in their house, which is exactly what the space you actually want to see the grout and the tile with or at. And so, now we just like pick with them.
I was kind of thinking on educating clients, I'd imagine people come in with different levels of experience and understanding of materials. And what do you feel like you always have to educate clients on other than like grout?
Countertops or their windows or
windows have lots of options.
Yeah, that's why it's really nice to have like your connections, your relationships with your vendors and suppliers, because then the clients have opportunity to have like all exposure of information for that material. So it's like we give them that map of like, okay, if you're looking for a custom window or like a really large sliding door, these are the features. We'll send you to one of our reps. And so countertops is definitely one that does need some education with clients on about like, do you want natural or man-made? Here are some showrooms. You definitely want to see these visuals because of the veining. Like there's just, and sometimes that can lead the design. Like the countertop is just like so grandiose. Like you're like, I love this so much. Like let's work off of it. But you need to make sure you have the actual slabs on hold and like put a deposit down. Like there's just a lot of factors into that. But countertops have edging styles. They have overhang measures. They have, if you want on your backsplash, vein matching. So there's maintenance too. So letting them know like, okay, if you choose a natural countertop, there is some sealant to be involved. This is something we can do now, but you'll have to keep up with it like throughout the months. But yeah, we always try and give them the pros and cons for each material type and let them make that decision.
Yeah, it's like educating them too with a natural stone in a wet space. Like so marble, somebody wants like a full marble shower, which we've done, but then you have to educate to say like, okay, marble is going to yellow, it's going to turn, it's going to oxidize. So this is what it's going to look like over time in a wet space. And so it's like, are you okay with that? But some people are because they love marble. I think another big one, I mean, you would see this more than I would, but we're seeing a lot more smart appliances or like smart technology being installed in homes, which takes a whole different trade. I mean, it doesn't, a lot of typical trades that you would work with in installing a normal appliance or a normal light fixture may not necessarily work with a smart light fixture or smart appliance. So it's a whole new thing that we're having to learn, which is kind of the ever evolving world of materials. So I don't know if you've seen that too with like clients saying like, I want to install smart stuff in my house.
I don't know, actually. I haven't seen it often, maybe once, but even then I don't like,
No?
Yeah.
No thing?
So yeah, so I think we've kind of hit on some really good points for clients to consider. Is there anything that you would tell future clients that you would recommend them? Like, do you wish that they just knew going into the process, or maybe like a fear that they have that you really wish, okay, just trust me on this, we've got this? Like, is there something you kind of see across the board with that?
Just look at so many inspiration photos, you know, and when you look at them, stick to them.
I knew you were going to say this.
Yeah.
Thinking about a client recently that changed her mind so many times.
Which is okay. I will say it's okay to do. Just do it before you make the calls to your general contractor, to your designer.
Yes.
Like, you can change your mind, but when you get to the point of making decisions and ordering materials, you really need to know what you want.
Yeah. And it's really knowing if a client doesn't want a designer, it really is honing in on like, okay, can they make these decisions without them?
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, we just had this conversation the other day about like with designers, they like help navigate you and they like tell you like, this is what you should pick within your range of like your style, your taste, your budget. But with the clients are like, oh, I have free range. And like, we're not designers, we're GC. So it's like, we just like, okay, cabinet maker, can you bid it out to be this way?
Yeah.
And then the client's like, no, let's change it to something else. So it's really like hone in on like what you like, and when you have those inspiration photos, like just finalize them, I guess. That's like really the first step. Finalize your inspiration photos of what you're wanting, and then we can start building off of that.
And it just delays their whole project. I mean,
It
we
does.
can't start until they know what they want, and then it takes time to get that pricing from the vendor and to get that material from the vendor. So all in all, yes, like if you are decisive going into this process, then we can just start your project all that much more sooner.
It really does make a difference for the whole process. Not
Visualize
having to go back and forth. And then on the other level, it can create confusion, because if you change your mind 3 to 4 times on something, no matter how we've documented it, it risks human error of like, oh, well, that one time you said that you wanted that, you know?
Yeah.
And so if you keep changing your mind, it just continues to like up that risk that something is not going to get updated somewhere. So having your mind made up is just important to the overall process. Okay, should we jump into our different sections of questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the first sections of questions are more about Simply Home.
Okay.
All right, so what has been your favorite project that you've worked on so far?
I would say the fireplace, and
Wow.
like the designer set it up really well. She had like really good drawings. The design was like so beautiful. The details of those designs were like spot on. It was like doing like half my job. I was like, oh, I just need to execute this. Great. The like presentation was very was just well rounded. And yeah, it was really a pretty project.
And it did look so pretty.
Such a pretty project. So
Yes.
if people are curious what this looks like, it is on our Instagram and it is stunning how it came out.
What is your favorite part of working at Simply Home?
I would say just
Build
like
with
the flexibility, like the energy is just like calm. It's the pressure's low. Like, and I would say this coming from like a different working environment. So this was like just my own like take on it, but like it's just like nothing has to be rushed all the time. Like, yeah, sure, we have deadlines and things, but like it doesn't need to be a stressful thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I like about Simply Home, is just that everyone understands that we all have lives. There's a balance. You definitely speak it and act on that, like you do have a work-life balance, and that does need to be a priority, and not have it weigh more on like work. And so yeah, that would probably be on like a mental health standpoint. Like that's like one of my favorite ones.
Oh, I love that.
That's a great one.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. What is one thing you wish all clients knew going into this process?
To trust us. That we got it. That anything that we're asking and setting deadlines for is to create a seamless project experience, and that you communicate with us as much as we communicate with you, and
That's a really good point.
Be a team.
And because it's like we've done this so many times before, so we kind of know what we're doing.
Yeah. Just trust.
Yeah.
Like mostly we know.
Trust.
Yeah.
Yes, trust.
All right. What's been a worst case scenario you've seen if clients don't have all material ready or selected?
When it comes to like what we start off first with is like rough-ins, like for especially plumbing, I think is really where that delay happens, because shortly after demo is plumbing and framing, which can happen within like 2 or 3 weeks after our start date. So that's been the worst case, is when like a tub's not in or it's cracked and we have to take it back. That's just been the delay, because those have to, depending on the layout, things have to be framed around it. So that we want to have that product in or that material in order to kind of work around everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, worst case scenario is just like any plumbing related fixtures.
Yeah.
Delays.
Yeah, delays in general, just, those can get you.
Because everything leads to something else. Like, you have to have this to get to this in construction. You can't just keep moving without it. Okay. Fun questions.
All right.
Okay.
Al, what's the best kept secret in Austin, Texas?
Well, Michelle, it is, don't tell anyone, but on North Lamar, there's a Whole Foods right there, and they have like an underground parking garage. Well, you can park there for free.
So you can park there for free.
Yes. So you can park there for free and like roam any area, like roam that area if you need to like walk just 2 blocks. Like I've parked there to go to the public library.
Nice.
And like no one...
So you won't get towed.
What is a hidden talent of yours?
Okay, so when COVID hit, I started going to estate sales, and I started buying things that were kind of weird, but then like cool in my opinion. And then I would like touch something, like kind of tweak it, and I flipped it for like double the cost. And then I was like,
cool.
Let me just do this side hustle of like flipping vintage decor.
Yeah. And people would totally pay for that good money, because it's like a one of a kind. You're never going to find it again.
Yep.
And Ash has an eye.
Yeah. I have an eye.
Okay, flip some stuff for me.
Yeah. But like, who gets paid, me or you?
You.
Ooh, is this a question?
Yeah.
Fun.
Basically, how much you get paid.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be like very funny with our clients. We're gonna flip your kitchen. Who gets paid? Me or you?
Yeah. I was like,
what? Me.
Okay, out of all the office supplies, what would be your favorite item?
So it's definitely like, I think I consider it an office item, but it's like what did I call it? A gem, like a crystal.
A quartz.
The quartz. There it is. Yeah, I think that's necessary to have in your office.
On your desk.
Yeah, work from home office.
That's such an Austin thing to say.
It really is.
Yeah. Keep the energy.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
What about cats? They're not part of your office energy?
Well, I rubbed Leroy, my cat, to give me good luck for this podcast.
Aww,
so I think it's working out well.
It works.
Leroy, thank you, Leroy.
You're like, I have to have a crystal and a cat.
A black cat.
A black cat.
Yeah, a black cat.
Oh
my gosh,
perfect
I love
for
it.
Halloween.
I know. Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, what is something positive in the media world you've seen lately?
Yes. Okay. On top of this quartz that I have, there's a park, Pease Park, downtown, that offers sound baths at the treehouse.
Yes.
and they're free. You just like sign up and you like lay out on the lawn and you like listen to a sound bath, either in the treehouse or just like nearby.
Wait, I need to go.
Is it with Cynthia, the gal that did our sound bath?
I don't know. There's so many. I think ATX Yoga Girl.
That's her.
Oh, that's her.
That's who did our sound bath.
Oh, okay.
Wait, we should
Our
totally
team
go
sound
back.
bath.
I know.
We did a team sound bath and it was amazing. I loved
Yes.
it.
It really was a bath for your ears.
Yeah.
And mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Your
was
ears.
it. Yeah.
They don't actually cleanse your ears, but you hear it.
It
Yes.
cleanses your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice that there's a bunch of free like things for your health,
Yeah.
spiritually, mentally, physically here in Austin.
Yeah.
Like there's so
So
many.
true.
There's an app for it.
So you'll just park at Whole Foods down on Philip Lamar
Yeah.
and you'll walk over to your sound bath.
Yeah. You know, actually, Peace Park has a free garage
What?
across the street. I don't know what the address is, but they're like, you know, if you can't find parking at the park, there's a garage that you can park at.
Oh,
So
you're
No, I
giving away
did
all the
not know
free
this.
little
I know.
gems.
It's saved on my Instagram, so I can send it to you.
Whoa.
Love
Yes,
that.
please. Because
Yeah.
I'm always wrestling
Yes.
for parking over there.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a mom.
Okay, Al, that was amazing. Thank you for your time and
Yay.
for joining us today. I think we really kind of touched the surface, but I think you did a good job of a high level explaining the importance of your role. When a client comes to you, they better be ready to go.
Yep.
and
Part
whipped into
one.
shape. Yeah.
Oh, Ashley's dotting for a part 2.
Yeah, what am I
Yes.
saying?
Cliffhanger.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a wrap. Thanks, Ash.
You're welcome.
Now that you were hooked to the podcast, you were probably thinking, how can I learn more? Well, sign up for our monthly newsletter to see our newest remodels and the best tips for a stress-free home renovation.
With a few easy clicks, you will get to go even more in depth with us as we go behind the scenes with life, projects, and our team. Go to simplyhome.co or the show notes to sign up. See you next time. Bye, y'all.